Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first call for December. We're at the end of the year. 2021 is coming to a close. I've just come back from an incredible experience. We had the HBM over the weekend in Atlanta, Georgia, hosted by Sherri, facilitated by Jeff Isom. An incredible, I have to say, I've been to HBM a few times. This was by far the best HBM experience that I've participated in. Absolutely phenomenal. The team was great. Great to see so many as well, Sherri. I'm sure you'll agree. Great to see so many people that weren't from NECAM coming along, participating, getting involved. It really opened my eyes to what a great tool HBM can be for prospecting, for helping people connect with who we are and what we're about. And certainly, this was a strong reminder to me as to what our culture in NECAM is all about becoming the best versions of ourselves. So again, like I said, I've got a special guest today. I want to introduce her. We all know her, of course, but it's worthwhile letting you know just a few highlights here. And I will emphasize as well, just before I congratulate her on being NECAM's newest diamond in North America, that it is not yet the 15th of the month. I've got my NECAM former corporate hat on. I know everyone needs to wait officially till the 15th for these things to become formalized, when I know that NECAM will recognize her as a diamond. So we're being a little preemptive here, but we know that she has confidently crossed the line and achieved all of the criteria necessary to become a diamond in NECAM. This is phenomenal. It's a great rank. And Sherri has come here with, she's got over 20 years of experience in NECAM. But in addition to being a diamond, here are some other things that Sherri has done along the way in her journey, in her 20 years experience in being a NECAM. She achieved the 60K month, the 60K club, the month that she reached platinum. That's a huge success in and of itself. She's accomplished the 21 club, if you remember the 21 club, more than 10 times in her past as well. She's participated and qualified for a number of incentive trips. For example, she went to Japan in her first year of being in NECAM, which was great to show that she can start off real strong. She's been to Germany, Cancun, Japan again, to Italy, and this is her third time, including 2021, that she'll be a member of the Team Kaizen team. So she's won Team Kaizen 3 times, including this year, which is just phenomenal. So you can see here, this is one of the things that I love about Sherri, is because I've had her on some of my calls in the past when I've been working with my UK team, is when there are incentives like Team Kaizen, she knows how to put her mind to it and get the job done. She's got a track record of having done that over and over and over again. So with that in mind, because I want to kind of stretch this out beyond achieving the rank of diamond, because there's a story behind that shows from these other accomplishments that you've done so much more than that in your past, with the 60K club, the 21 clubs, the Team Kaizen multiple times, incentive trips all around the world. So Sherri, one of the questions I want to ask you, just as we kind of have this interview together, is tell us about the mindset that you create or establish or follow, perhaps, that gets you winning these incentives over and over again. Tell us about this. What can people learn from this?
Well, I think it's partly part of my personality. Maybe it's being a Sagittarian. Gary maybe can speak to that, of having a lot of energy and a lot of focus. And I love winning trips, and I love that NECAM allows anyone to qualify. It's not, I don't love trips, I don't love contests where only one person wins, and that's life in lots of ways, and I love that it's not that with NECAM. And so I've done a lot of that. And then if you look at anybody's history, there's dips and highlights and dips in a long journey. This is, I just celebrated my 24th year. I completed my 24th year. I was saying this at Humans Being More on my birthday, which was Sunday, that 24 years ago, my first order as a consultant came in, and that was a king size mattress topper. And so, and that span of time. So I went platinum pretty quick in the scheme of things. I think it was my third year.
Mhm.
And then there was this lull, and, it was kids and, raising a family, and the fact that you can be an entrepreneur, you can take time and be really present with your kids. And I did that. And then I got called out by my coach years ago that I was using it as an excuse. I'd gotten way too comfortable. And so there was a period where I really plateaued. And, I think Niken has had some of those plateaus as well. And so that was a call to action for me to get back into that groove of holding myself accountable and getting focused. And I think that the reason that this is such a big deal for me reaching Diamond is that it's not that I have at this moment that I have the Diamond team that I aspire to have. That's growing. I've been working behind the scenes to put many things in place. What is such a mindset thing for me is that, and I think we can probably all relate to this, is that you get comfortable and you get our fear and our monkey mind can talk to us. And so this has been a process for me of this real breakthrough to make a decision. And it's the thing I've done, to go back to the question that you asked, what is your mindset to win all these awards? It was a mindset to go Diamond. And I've been thinking about it for, I've been planning it. It was going to be November. I didn't plan, God, the whole thing about, make plans and see that God's got a sense of humor. So I had several people lined up that were going to join and all of that. And then of course on November, I think it was November 2nd is when the system shut down. And it was like, oh. And so I kind of lost my focus. And for a while I was kind of in this place of, well, I don't think it's going to happen. And then I got kind of back to doing the mindset work. And I started saying, and I really rely on my team Griff, which Maggie started. And there's a group of us that are mostly cross-line that we check in every morning, 5 days a week. And I started saying it. I started saying, I am Diamond. That became part of my mantra, because we all say a mantra at the beginning when we introduce, check in. And it felt strong. And I thought, okay, I'm back. And that was like the mid part of the month. And then of course, the company gave us a huge gift. And I'm not going to spend any time worrying about, what would have happened if we hadn't gotten the double points, what I've made it. It doesn't matter. It's a business. And I had made the decision. And I know this about myself, and I would guess this is true at human nature, that there's opportunities that are great for us to grab, and our head's not there and we miss them.
Yeah.
And I was ready for it. And it took a while, honestly. I remember sitting in those giant events that we had for years and watching the top diamonds and royal diamonds come up and talk and thinking, without either, subconscious or conscious, I'm not ready for that. It scared me.
Yeah.
And I have finally gotten to a place where I feel like I deserve it. I feel like I'm there. I felt like a diamond before I reached Diamond. And so this is such a great platform for me now, Ben, because now I feel like I've pushed through this huge barrier, and I've been doing all these behind the scenes things. I had to do some behind the scenes things for a while, and that's another story. But I've been building my brand, and I've hired people, and I have a team that helps me with marketing, and I'm doing so much more on social media, and so much more is being rolled out. And so, I set a goal. I'm going to say it here. My goal is to reach Royal Diamond in a year. And that's because of, and I can't not, give a nod to Leo, because Leo brought the simplicity of having a system, and it doesn't have to be exactly Leo's system. It's a system that is duplicatable, that is so simple, and he was generous enough to share it. And so that's part of what my team has been doing, is I'm creating a team, a whole system in Spanish, which is interesting because I don't speak Spanish. So anyhow, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of little things that have been building over a long time.
Yeah, well, you said a number of things there that I'd love to unpack. So I'm wondering which question to start with next, really. But let's start with where you just left off, because I remember when I was in Amway a number of years ago, when I worked there corporately, I had the chance of interviewing some of their top performers in their 5 top markets in Europe. And one of the questions that I asked each of the leaders was, what is your biggest barrier to success? And they said, it's new leaders that think they've arrived. He said, because and they said what that means is, and what was interesting was all these different markets, the leaders kind of said the same thing, getting these new leaders that think they've arrived. He said, because as soon as they get to this position of leadership, they stop doing the things that got them there, right? And so I find it interesting that, because I've seen that happen plenty of times, people will hit a certain rank, even if it's silver, they go, oh, I've arrived. It's like, well, you're just getting going. Yeah, you're just getting going. But people's behavior suddenly stops sometimes when they hit a certain rank. You've said something today, which is quite the opposite of that. You were immediately setting a goal to get a Royal Diamond business in the next 12 months. And you said you've got some things in place that you're working on. And I want to elaborate on this a little bit, because when we chatted briefly in Atlanta, you talked about this growth, this rank as a process versus an event, getting to diamond, that you've got a phase 2 in your strategy. So let's help people understand this process of development that you've got with your business. Can you elaborate a little bit on your brand and some of these behind the scenes things you're working on?
Absolutely. I think in today's, business platform, we have to have a presence online. And I was proud of myself that I had a different website, and I was proud of myself that I had a blog. I thought I was doing all these great things, and then I hired a team that really studies the science of marketing and all of that. And I don't want to know all the things that they know. They laugh at me, and I tell them, I say, sometimes they're giving me all these details, and I feel like a 4th grader who's walked into a graduate class. So it's a learning curve. I had all sorts of things. I now have this concise message and concise, aesthetic, a look. Yeah. We created all of that. So that was a part of it. And that took like a whole year. And I have a new website, and I'm also launching a self-care mentoring business. It all comes back to Niken. And I think it's great when you've been doing something for a long time to keep evolving. And so that was the next thing that I wanted to do, was to work with people one-on-one. And I have a package that is going to include someone working with me, mentoring one-on-one, and getting a wellness home as part of the package. So it always comes back to Niken.
Yeah.
And so I've been working on that aspect of it. And I didn't know I needed to have a sales funnel, but that's out there to create the steps. It's like, if you want to be able to attract people online, how do you do it? And there's like, you have to be, on top of mind. And so I have, my YouTube channel is being developed, and I have a newsletter that I finally figured out a formula so that I put in. I love, to me, part of self-care. It's nothing to do with Niken. It kind of does, but separately, part of my brand is about laughter is self-care. Yeah. So I have a newsletter that I tell jokes. I put in a joke, and then on the template, it's got my YouTube channel, it's got my, mentoring, and it's got my blogs, which are, a lot about Niken. So I'm creating this whole bigger picture of being an expert in the wellness profession. And that's important to me. I don't know that it's important to everyone to do that, but that's the way I'm moving forward and how I want to.
Yeah, I think that's important for anyone that is in Niken long term, that wants to keep building a list. Because the reality is, if we're going to be speaking to people on a daily basis, if we want to rank, advance, and grow our organizations, it's not going to happen from speaking to someone every other day. That doesn't cut it. That can maybe help minimize attrition, but it's not going to grow your business. If you want to grow your business, we need to have a robust contact list where we are bringing people from that list into presentations, doing follow-ups, and then bringing them into the business on a consistent basis. That means that list needs to be dynamic, ever expanding, and reaching out to new people. So a couple of points that I get from that I think is worth reiterating is Yeah, a question that I'd put to everyone listening: what are you doing right now to build your contact list, to add credibility to your own brand and who you are, so that people will want to listen and pay attention? I like what you said, Sherri, about, you said it's not necessarily Nikken specific. I want to touch on that for just a second, because one thing that I have learned and that I have seen repeatedly over and over again is when we're wanting to build strong lists, one of the ways that we do that is that we can tap into the strength of someone else's list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the ultimate principle of networking. Yeah, the first lesson I got taught years ago when I was in my 20s in contact list building is it's not who you know, it's who they know. Yeah, it's that principle of who do they know? Who's next? Referrals are powerful. And we're in an environment now with the internet where there are loads of people everywhere that have not just 100 names list, they have thousands on their list, hundreds of thousands, some people even in the millions. Yeah. But if we make our list, if we make our brand and our story exclusively about Nikken, then we can do ourselves a disservice, because one of the effective points of marketing is to create sub niches of interest so that we're not competing with other people's lists. Yeah. So when we find a self-care interest somewhere, for example, you've talked about laughter and, that being an important part of self-care, learning to be happy. Yeah. People need that. We've certainly seen that over the last, year and a half, haven't we, with the pandemic, that this need to help people feel happier. I think what's important here is you can create an audience there where people can connect, you can build the relationship, you can build the trust, and then you can become an expert, like you said, in that field of self-care, which allows you an opportunity to connect in a way that you couldn't have if you just came straight out and said, I'm a Nikken distributor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't always work that way when you're when you're warming a cold market. Yeah. We've got to find other points of interest. So I think that's really good. I want to go back now to something that you said before, because I think this is worthwhile as well, especially when we're learning of success stories of people that have won competitions, incentives, achieved rank advancements, and so on and so forth. And that's this. In the process of achieving anything great, there's also a lot of failure along the way. So this seems like an unusual question to ask, but I always find it's one that offers reassurances to those that are listening that are on their own journey to achievement. But what are some things that you've learned by getting it wrong? I'm assuming you've gotten it wrong a couple of times, yeah?
So many.
Yeah.
So many. What have I learned? Well, I've learned how little I know, and that's okay. And as long as I keep learning and I keep growing, as long as I have the desire to keep doing that, it doesn't matter. The failures don't matter so much anymore, because it's a moment. It's not a defining moment. It doesn't have to be a whole event.
Yeah.
It's a redirect.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's been lots of that, and I think the biggest thing for me is I wasn't willing to even put my hat in the race for a long time.
Yeah.
Because of fear, because of a mindset. And so, this to me is as much of this rank advancement of being at a level now that I feel it's a confidence boom for me to say, okay, I did that. What's next? And it started with me learning to speak and taking a class on speaking, because honestly, back in the day when I did, I might be talking to 30 people, or it could have been 100 people in the front of the room for a wellness preview. I was handshaking, knees knocking, and the few times I got invited to speak because I had qualified for Team Kaizen, same thing. I mean, I was frightened out of my mind. And so we're all on this journey of our own personal growth. And I mean, we're in great hands with Humans Being More. I mean, that is really the whole mantra, the core of our company.
Yeah.
And so, I think all the things I've been doing, I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, I was afraid to do live videos. And so there was many, failures of starting it and then taking it down because I felt awful about it. And what I started doing is I thought, okay, I'm going to tell a joke every day. And that got me comfortable. It's like, if you want to get better at something you feel like you do poorly, do more of it, do a lot of it, because eventually it gets comfortable. You get familiar with it.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent. So let me repeat back there a couple of my takeaways from what you just said is, along the way to achieving any of your goals. So if there's anyone online that's listening to this, either now or in the recording, that's got some goals that they're wanting to achieve, we need to recognize that falling down is going to be a part of that journey. Yeah. The critical thing is to get up one more time than we fall down, isn't it? And to not interpret the falling down, I love what you said there, as a defining moment that defines who we are when we're flat on our face. Yeah, we need to have the defining moment be when we get back up. I think that's really important. So yeah, I'm really grateful for that. And I love as well how you said you were scared to death of public speaking and you took a class. So I'd ask anyone listening today, what aspects of building your Nikan business scare you? And what is it that you can do presently to overcome that fear? Sherri took a class on public speaking because it was becoming something that was necessary for her as her business grew, and she was getting recognized on stage for winning incentives. She was being required to speak or doing wellness previews. It scared her. She took a class, and as she said, did it over and over and over again so that she became more confident and comfortable, like the Facebook Lives. I love that. Bob, you've raised your hand. You got a question?
Well, not necessarily a question, but a comment.
Sure.
Listening to Sherri's story is very nice, and I'm very happy for her. But one of the things that I think behind the scenes that she asked for help, and most people don't. They let their pride get in their way and think I can solve this myself. And this goes back to one of the things that I learned many years ago in one of the Human Being War classes. They had a little task there that you had to move some sticks around to make something happen. And if you couldn't do it right away, ask for help. Well, the people that asked for help got it right away. And the people that resisted the help took them longer to get it. So it proves the point that if you can't do something, for help. And that's what she did. She hired somebody to help her with this, and she put this place. And so, and I think that's the main thing that a lot of people, they let their pride get in their way and they don't ask for help.
Yeah, no, Bob, you raised a really good point. I want to, this will be my closing remark because we're coming up to the half-hour mark, and I'll leave a couple minutes for Sherri to maybe share some final words of wisdom for us. But on that point of asking for help, I was asked this question over the weekend. What do we really need to know in order to succeed in this business? And I said, well, actually, it's really, in my opinion, two things. One is we need to have a very clear vision of what we want to achieve and accomplish. The other thing is we need to be willing enough, humble enough, using Bob's language, to ask for help. There was an example that I saw that was a wonderful teaching moment. A new distributor had some questions about an aspect of the business. I can't remember what the concern was that they had, but they called up their sponsor, who was a diamond. They asked him a question. They said, oh, do you know how this aspect of the business works? And he goes, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. Stay on the line, don't go anywhere. Let me just call my sponsor. His sponsor was also a diamond. So he phones his sponsor and says, I've got this new guy on the line that I've just recently enrolled. They've got this question. I don't know the answer. What's the answer to this question? And his sponsor goes, it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. Stay on the line. Let me ask my sponsor. And he phoned his sponsor. got them on the line, asked the question. He was also a top ranking distributor. He gave the answer. He then passed the answer back. They pass it back, down back the chain. It goes to the new person. After that experience happened, as I was being told that story, my friend goes, now tell me, answer me this question. Do you think that his sponsor, the diamond, knew the answer to that question or he didn't? Now, he said he didn't. He said, now, in reality, he did know the answer to the question. So why did he say he didn't? He said, because what they did was they turned that into a teaching moment. They wanted this new person to understand, above all, you don't need to know all the answers to succeed in this business. You need to know that you can ask for help and that you can plug into your upline and that you've got a team around you that will support you. When you've got that support system in place and you're connected to it, then you've got a better chance of succeeding. He said, so they all taught the lesson. They all got in because they knew more important than simply giving the answer to the question was helping that person know an important lesson. If you're ever stuck, ask for help. Ask for help. So that's a great point that you raised there, Bob. I think that's really important. And that's something that Sherri's demonstrated in reaching out and getting these marketing teams, going on classes and courses to improve herself and develop herself. And all of these types of things is demonstrating initiative to ask a question, to learn something that scares her, to get the job done when she doesn't necessarily feel like at first blush she's got what it takes. So that's great. So Sherri, any final thoughts from you? Any final lessons that you think you'd like to share or messages you'd like to share with the group before we conclude?
I would say in closing that I like what you were saying and kind of echoing that, what I've been doing, my marketing plan has not been all about me, Ken. I think we all have such an important message, so much we can provide for people, particularly now. People are so scared about their health. And, I was giving a testimonial earlier on the Spanish testimonial one that Gita was so gracious to translate about how incredible our immunity product is, and how I've relied on it when, if I didn't have these products in my life, I would be sick from all the stuff I've been doing and pushing myself. And it's, so that's one thing. I mean, we can all get on our platforms and talk about how fabulous these products are. And there's so much more that we are, this whole philosophy of helping people and being collaborative and, and self-care as a overall. I mean, I started training myself to speak on being a sleep expert, not on the technologies, but about sleep, learning things about sleep and having a platform to talk to people about that, or about hydration. I have a class on teaching people, and I've worked with different doctors in their offices to have these relationships with, and that was a lot of the volume that happened for me going diamond, was working with a whole bunch of different doctors that may not be building a team. Some are, some aren't, but they have the kind of clients that are looking for the kind of solutions we offer. So I'm suggesting that we expand ourselves and be experts in this whole broad field of wellness, because the world needs us.
Yeah.
And if we create, however we decide to create that platform, with whether it's online, whether it's in networking or speaking or a blog or Facebook group, I mean, there's an infinite directions we can go in, but to find that confidence in yourself to speak, to be out there, and it will build your business along the way, and you'll be, a community expert that, people will, I mean, that's our society pillar, right?
Yeah. We certainly need to open our mouths in order to build our business. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's find your niche. And I like how you've found areas that are both comfortable for you, because not necessarily that's who you are, but it's who you've wanted to be. So what you've done, which I really like, is you're taking aspirational goals that are around the humans being more philosophy of who do I want to become, and you reach out in that direction and go, okay, I'm going to overcome this fear. I'm going to learn this principle. I'm going to connect with these people so that I can be the expert, so that I can become the leader, so that I can achieve these certain milestones that help you to define yourself in a new way. And I think that's fantastic. So thank you, Sherri, so much for being our special guest today. And I feel comfortable that we could go on for ages kind of unpacking so much around the subject of achievement. And I think it's great, isn't it, that we take lessons from this. I loved what you said, in summary, there were some lucky moments along the way and you seized them. Luck is being prepared when opportunity presents itself. Yeah, we'll all have different lucky moments that we should seize when they come out across our path. I remember seeing, just in conclusion, an interview, there were these two heavyweight boxing champions. They were fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. And there was one of them went in fully confident that he was going to win, of course, as they should. He lost. He got knocked out by his opponent. And in the press conference at the end, he leans over to his opponent and goes, "You got to admit, though, that was a lucky punch." Yeah. And his opponent very quickly and calmly responded and said, "Luck is being prepared when opportunity presents itself." Meaning you opened yourself up and I took the lucky punch. So we're all going to have those moments and they will be different for each of us. Business is not a science. It's an art. There is science to it. But if it was a science and a fixed formula, everyone could follow exactly the same path and get exactly the same results. It doesn't necessarily work like that. There are principles that we follow. There are principles of duplication that we need to apply. There are certain behaviors that we copy and imitate, of course, but we still get different results because we're all working in different environments. So let's keep that in mind as well. I think that's really important. We seize the moment, we find out the areas that make us uncomfortable, and we work to change ourselves to become the best version coming out the other side, however that may look for us. It's all about us becoming the best version of ourselves, isn't it? But again, just to reiterate that last point that Sherri, that first point that Sherri said, she's always had it very clear in her mind when she's winning incentives or going for rank, that I'm going to get this. And she goes out and makes it happen. It doesn't happen by accident. It happens on purpose. So thank you very much, Sherri. Appreciate what you've said and love all the things that you've done over these last 24 years of being in Nikken. Appreciate it. Love you very much. And everyone, have a great week for the rest of the week. Take care. Bye-bye.